Sorry, I haven't. We'll be listening to the of Serbia responding to the questions under Cluster 4. Madam, the floor is yours.
Sa prvom.
Thank you. In regards to the question of attendance in school, regular attendance in school, and staying in the system of education of children from the groupation of internally displaced persons, we are pointing out that the Ministry of Education and Science it does not register IDPs who are in collective centers, not by gender, neither by ethnicity. What we'd like to point out that IDPs have the same rights to education like other citizens of the Republic of Serbia. But we know that there are problems in this area, which is the biggest problem might be the financial situation of this category of citizens and women and children in these families, and the lack of information of getting assistance in education in regards to IDPs. And they have a possibility was envisaged that every school establishes a team and individual plan, educational plan for children, especially for those who need special attention in overcoming the educational program. For example, individual program of Serbian language, or maybe language of the national minority for students who do not understand the language of which is used in classes. In order to overcome these problems, there are several approaches. One of them is implementation of legislation, especially of the foundations of education, especially giving the opportunity to members of the national minorities and IDPs, who are usually from this category, to have classes in their own national minority language. There are different ways, just the national minority language in Serbian, or bilingually, and also class in Serbian with a choice of a class of national minority language with the cultural information about the culture. There's a preschool program also in regards to that, on different programs that are based on multicultural diversity and other principles which are important for school. Segregation of Roma children is, according to some information, when we're talking about integration in the basic education program, according to some information, 8% of Roma children attend preschool programs, that is kindergartens. The action plan for the implementation of for improvement of the status of Roma has several measures in order to ensure and creates a system for children who are not in the educational system. For example, children who left this system, young people, adults, and unregistered children, the children of returners, or in the process of readmission or deported. For this groupation, for this group, the Republic of Serbia is aware that the low financial situation limits their access to education. What is very important is that in the long term, measures and activities have to be implemented in the long run, so that children can be integrated into the education system. I would also like to point out that during a mixed survey, research that was being conducted by UNICEF in the UNICEF office in the Republic of Serbia, we are expecting the second part of 2014 new information.
I would like to point out also that in March 2014, the UNICEF office in Belgrade, together with the relevant ministries such as, of course, the ministry competent for education, for social issues, for youth, started a project in the duration of 2 years, a 2-year project related to dropouts. It will take place in 10 towns in Serbia, one primary school, and in each of the 10 towns, and 2 additional secondary schools, and we will see what the situation is, what the position of the children is, and we expect to find some additional measures, basis for additional measures, for additional incentives for preventing dropouts. Thank you very much. I would just like to point out that in practice we have the system of education for members of the national minorities in their mother tongue in both primary and secondary education. In primary and secondary schools attended by national minority members in the Serbian language, depending on the interest of both students and parents, it is made possible to study their mother tongue with the elements of their culture. In 2013-2014 academic year, overall education in primary school was organized in Albanian and Bosnian languages in the 1st and 5th years, in Bulgarian, Hungarian, Ruthenian, Slovak, Croatian languages. Mother tongue with elements of national culture are studied by Bosniaks, Bulgarian, Bunjevac, Hungarian, Macedonian, Roma, Romanian, Ruthenian, Slovak, Ukrainian, Croatian, and Czech national minorities. The overall secondary education takes place in Albanian, Bosniak or Bosnian, Bulgarian, Hungarian, Romanian, Ruthenian, Slovenian, Slovak, and Croatian languages. Mother tongue with the elements of national culture is also attended by Bulgarians, Romanians, Slovaks, Slovenians, and Croatian minorities. Thank you. Just a small addition, bearing in mind that the textbooks are in the languages of national minorities. They're the textbooks with small circulations. So the Republic of Serbia, from its budget of the Republic of Serbia, allocates funds for the publishers or the companies printing and publishing these low circulation textbooks, so they would find their interest in actually doing this. So for the largest number of members of national minorities, the printing of textbooks are actually provided for by the budget of the Republic of Serbia in the languages that we just mentioned. As for questions from the culture field, my colleague will take the floor. First of all, I would like to discuss the question whether there is this office for national minorities. We have the Office for Human and Minority Rights. Things are a bit different. As for culture, this is within the competencies of the Ministry of Culture and Media. With regard to national minorities, based on the law on protection of freedoms and rights of national minorities, as well as on the law on national minority councils. The minorities are entitled to self-governance in the area of culture, and that is why that is how they exercise that, through their national councils. With regard to the measures implemented by the Ministry of Culture, especially with regard to the minorities and decentralization of culture, there is a whole range of measures and activities. I hope that I will not be too long. I will just mention some of them. So the Ministry, by introducing competition or tender procedures and competition procedure and funding projects in the area of creativity of national minorities. They contributed to the process of decentralization primarily because deciding on projects to be implemented is left to national minorities representatives and experts in the area of culture in the entire territory of the Republic of Serbia. Moreover, the opinions about which projects are to be supported are provided by the national councils, national minority councils. The Ministry prepared the rule book on criteria for co-funding of the projects, and the rule book actually mentions decentralization as one of the most important criteria for supporting the projects. In addition, the cultural institutions of national importance that are funded from the budget of the Ministry of Culture provide their own contribution to decentralization of culture through most various projects, most diverse projects, and the Ministry itself implemented the project Serbia in Serbia in 2009 and 2010, where the cultural institutions and prominent artists toured all over Serbia with their programs. Moreover, we buy out books. We buy books and provide them to the libraries in the entire territory of the Serbia, which includes also the languages of the national minorities, books written in those languages. When it comes to national pensions, the ones that are given for special services, it is actually a recognition for most superior contribution or top contribution to national culture, all the culture of national minorities. This is specified by the law on culture, and there is also the regulation on criteria for awarding this for awarding such contributions to the culture or culture of national minorities. When we call for applications for national recognitions or national awards, national minorities are also asked to send their delegate to the Commission, and the national councils actually provide recommendations about who the artists are, prominent artists are, who should receive such merit, such recognition as the national pension. This is the case of monthly allowance that is awarded for the entire length of their lives, but that is given to persons who are already retired. This is the amount of 50,000 dinars. This is about 450 euros per month. and 324 million dinars are allocated for this specific purpose. It is something like 2.8 million euros. Unfortunately, this regulation and the criteria proved to be deficient over time, to be lacking, which has nothing to do with the minority population. It has to do with the very implementation of the regulation in question. So this year the competition was not published. And we are working on amending the criteria and thus make everybody satisfied. The criteria are developed together with the national councils and associations in the field of culture. With regard to Serbs in the region, as of 2004, the ministry has had competitions for co-funding projects for the Serbs in the region, and this was the first in a range of activities that we wanted to undertake. Moreover, we prepared also a guide for instruments of support, instruments of assistance by the Ministry of Culture to the Serbs in the region for the first 6-year period from 2004 to 2010. Our aim was to underline the good practice examples and to highlight them and to show what the priorities are of the Republic of Serbia with regard to culture, and also to introduce but as good cooperation as possible with diaspora. This competition also involves participation of experts in the field of culture and independent commissions that decide on what should be supported, should be provided support. And there is an additional competition also contributing significantly to promoting culture of Serbia abroad, but also the culture of national minorities of Serbia abroad. And that is the competition for translating foreign works into the languages. So these are the translations of the works of Serbian culture or culture from Serbia, which involves the languages of the national minorities, into the languages of other nations, of other peoples. And the first competition was published in 2008 until 2013. 339 works were translated, and the amount spent was about 343,000 euros, which is 1,300 euros per title on average. What is interesting because of the national minorities is that most of the works were translated into Bulgarian and Macedonian, actually, those two languages. That is all for the time being. Thank you. I will try to answer some of the questions that referred to national councils of national minorities. National councils are legal persons, and they exercise important public duties in Serbia with regard to self-governance in culture, in official use of language and script of national minorities, and so on. National councils were introduced by the law on protection of national minorities, and the first election for national minorities, as well as the scope of their competencies and powers, are governed by the law on national councils of national minorities. At the elections for national councils of national minorities in Serbia, 19 national minorities applied, submitted their lists, and established their national councils. The law provides that elected national councils need to have their chairs or presidents to represent the council, the executive body, as well as committees within the council for education, culture, information, and official use of language and script. Those are the committees. National councils receive funds from the budget of Serbia for their operation through the Office for Human and Minority Rights, and also through various public competitions announced by the ministries of the government, such as the ones for culture mentioned by the Ministry of Culture representative. I would like to point out that the Republic of Serbia is going to have new elections for new councils by the end of this year. A term of office will expire, for the current ones, will expire in June of this year, and currently amendments to the law on national councils of national minorities are in the parliamentary procedure. What we want to commend ourselves about is that the working group for amendments of this law involved the representatives of national minorities in Serbia. Not those that were selected by the government of Serbia, but those national minorities that were those national minority representatives delegated by the national councils. The working group included representatives of Hungarian, Romanian, and Bulgarian national councils. And what I also want to point out is that in this particular way, we will continue with the following cycle of amendments together with the national councils of national minorities. The amendments of the law currently undergoing parliamentary procedure should provide for the new elections to take place in a fair and democratic atmosphere and environment, and the fact that they will be conducted by the National Election Committee that actually conducts also and runs manages elections for the national parliament is a guarantee that it will be so. National councils provided their proposals about how this procedure may be improved and how they see elections for new councils may be implemented in the best possible way. I would also like to tell the committee that the Constitutional Court of the Republic of Serbia declared unconstitutional a number of provisions of this law. So the next amendments of this law, which involves compliance with the decision of the Constitutional Court of Serbia, will also take place in cooperation with the national councils, and there is full consensus of the government of the Republic of Serbia and the national minorities about this issue. We are facing also the establishment of the new council of the government of Serbia for the national minorities, and this council will probably be led by the Prime Minister of the Republic of Serbia, and the ministers of the government of the Republic of Serbia will be members of this council because they are competent for exercising the rights of national minorities. What is our joint or common intention of the government of the Republic of Serbia and the minorities living in Serbia is that the Serbia should be an equal opportunity society for both the majority population and the members of the national minorities. It is a fact that national minorities are ready to participate in political and public life, social life of the Republic of Serbia. And by all means, the government of the Republic of Serbia should create conditions for their full integration, and we will continue more intensive work even with regard to that in the period to come.
Thank you very much to the delegation of Serbia for the responses to the last cluster question to the members of the committee, whether they have some follow-up questions. Mr. Sadi, the rapporteur.
Thank you, and I thank the delegation for their answers. I'm afraid the time has been too short to enter into meaningful dialogue. The information we received from the delegation provoked many follow-up questions. Unfortunately, we had no time to raise them. This is the nature of things. We're limited to 2 sessions. But I have many things in my mind that I would have wanted to raise. But the point I raised about the minorities. Now, my fear is this: is every minority in your country entitled to have their own school system and their children to be taught in their own respective languages? What I'm afraid is what is going to happen to national unity if each minority goes to a separate school. What is the projection for the future? It's one thing to have minority languages respected, but to keep the Bulgarians separate from the Romanians and the Romanians separate, I'm afraid this is a two-edged sword, and I have no time to pursue that line of questioning, but I just want to I hope that when you talk about minorities, you keep in mind there are major minority groups and there are minor minority groups. You cannot have give them equal treatment as far as schooling is concerned, because you set a precedent for other countries which cannot really provide separate school system for every minority, irrespective of its size. Thank you.
This was rather a view of the member of the committee than the question. But if you wish to comment on that, certainly you are invited to it.
Of course, bearing in mind the number of national minorities in Serbia, for all the members of the national minorities, it's not able to have classes in their own languages through the laws which exist in the education system of the Republic of Serbia. There are certain conditions which are envisaged, which are related to the number of students who are members of a certain minority who will be attending classes in the language of this minority, and that is the basic precondition for holding classes in the national minority languages. In regards to the manner how classes in the educational system are organized, it is necessary to be more than 15 students who are enrolled in a class who wish to listen to classes in their own minority languages, so that these classes in this language, minority language, could be organized. Serbia, of course, is attempting to ensure access to classes in national minority languages to new, according to the number of persons in the national minorities, and we have faced problems that certain national minorities that have a smaller amount of members, especially in one territory, have those kind of demands towards the Ministry of Education and the government, and and if this is not fulfilled, they deem this as an act of discrimination towards national minorities. We are aware of this problem. However, Serbia will try to have clear parameters and in regards to providing classes in minority languages.
Helpful comment and clarification. I think that we have completed now the exchange between, consisting of questions and answers, comments between the distinguished delegation of Serbia and the members of the committee. So we are entering now the final phase of our dialogue, and I would like to invite both the distinguished head of the delegation and to the rapporteur, to under the pressure of time, short concluding remarks. So, Madam, if you could be so kind and take the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and the respected members of the committee. Ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, thank you for this opportunity for the delegation of the Republic of Serbia approach the committee. And I can personally approach in regards to the implementation of the International Covenants on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. I'd also like to thank you for the interest that you have shown, the significant in regards to economic, social, cultural rights in Serbia. You have asked us a lot of questions and raised a lot of issues, and we have tried to answer them and concerns as well as better. If we have omitted certain questions, it was not intentional. Some answers, as we have pointed out, can be sent to you later on. I hope we have succeeded in some way to give you enough information on basis of which you have a better picture of the status of economic, social, cultural rights in Serbia in comparison to the perspective you had according to the report that you read. We also tried to show you that we're in a process of building new political, economic and social structures in Serbia. Unfortunately, we have tried to present that our assets and are very limited, but we are oriented to create a system that will ensure a high level of enjoyment of rights in the Republic of Serbia. Currently, as you have seen in our discussion, we are very concentrated on legislative reforms, but also on preparation and implementation of adopted laws and strategies and action plans. In that process, practically, we are harmonizing our legislative system with the standards of the European Union. In the same time, we are trying to, in a serious manner, deal with very urgent problems and issues as much as we are able to. We are sincerely trying to do that, especially putting attention on the most vulnerable groups. And the conclusion, Mr. Chairman, I would like to point out that the dialogue with the committee was a very useful activity for our delegation. Of course, we will dedicate maximum interest and attention to the concluding recommendations, and we are happy to continue our cooperation with the committee. Thank you once more in my behalf and on behalf of the delegation of the Republic of Serbia.
Distinguished head of delegation, Madam Paunovic. Now I would like to ask our rapporteur to share his first impressions from the dialogue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson, and many thanks to the delegation. Indeed, the information we shared together has been most useful. Given the fact that your country is going through a new phase, a new political system order, this dialogue comes at a very opportune time, and I hope you take with you our comments and in due course our recommendations, so they can be incorporated in this new phase that your country is going through. Thanks again, and I wish we had more time to spend with you, but that's the way it is. And so thank you very much for sharing with us your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sadi, and may I just to continue on this last thought of Mr. Sadi, that it would be great to have more time, but unfortunately we are acting, as our rapporteur said, under a certain regime which we have to accept. I would like to express my real appreciations for the presence of the highly professional and highly experienced delegation from Serbia. We have got very important and very comprehensive information to our questions. I would like to express my special thanks to the distinguished head of delegation and to His Excellency Ambassador for excellent cooperation in conducting this meeting. As we all experienced, this was really done under pressure of time, and even if I allowed myself to intervene from time to time, this was related to this fact. We are now managing the entire agenda on time. Once again, to my thanks in this respect. Madam Head of Delegation, may I just share one reflection with you, with your permission. You referred to the fact that Serbia is on its way to harmonize its legislation and its practices with the European Union. We would highly appreciate if you would also harmonize fully your practice and legislation with the Covenant on Economic, Social, Cultural Rights. This would be great. I am myself from a country which is a member of the EU, but I think that EU can learn from this covenant also a lot. So this is what is my impression. I think that you understand me in this respect. And I would like also to really thank all the members of the delegation very sincerely for very profound, very comprehensive, very frank, and very sincere responses to the questions. You really were very forthcoming in this respect, and I think everybody here in the committee appreciates it. I would like to say that the committee will discuss its concluding observations at a private meeting, as usual, but the concluding observations will be adopted in a public meeting on 23rd of May at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in this conference room. Everybody who will be present at the time in Geneva is cordially invited to this meeting. I would like also to benefit from the presence of His Excellency and members of the mission and invite the representatives of the mission of Serbia to the UN to a briefing for the state parties, which will be held in this room on 23rd May at noon. We will then summarize our work during this session of the committee. In the previous years, during the last two sessions, we held such briefings for state parties. And I must say that they got a certain dynamics. It's really very encouraging. The engagement in discussion during these briefings on the part of state parties is really remarkable. So we would be more than pleased to welcome also the representatives of the mission of Serbia. We certainly look forward to further contacts and exchanges with the government of Serbia, and we hope that these contacts could also take place between the reporting cycles. We will not need to wait until the next reporting time. I think that at the end I should wish the delegation, particularly those who travel to Geneva now, to travel nicely and safely home to Belgrade, probably, and we look forward to further contact with you. Thank you very much for this dialogue. I herewith would like to declare this meeting of the Committee on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights closed.